Hey everybody, John Brown here, and today I am very excited to bring you my review for Xia Legends of a Drift System. This is a game that I was quite possibly more excited about than any other game ever. The only game I can really compare it to is maybe X-Wing Miniatures. Spent a lot of time playing X-Wing and TIE Fighter back on the PC. As soon as I started a Kickstarter video for it, talking about, being Han and Chewie or Malcolm, whoever you wanted to be, going around and doing whatever you wanted to, basically. This is a space sandbox game. Something that there really isn't a ton of. I mean, there's a lot of open world games in the video game market from, Skyrim to Grand Theft Auto. And so I was just so excited that, I'm not a big pickup and delivery fan, but, I can do that some, or I can build a ship that where I'm going to blow other people up, or I can be an outlaw, or I can be, a moral captain and go attack outlaws, whatever I want to do. And that was kind of the idea that was put out there and something I was very excited about. Now let's be clear, this is an Ameritrash game. Lots of miniatures, lots of dice rolling, lots of components, and lots of rules. If I tried to explain everything in the rulebook, this video would be way too long. So I'm going to kind of simultaneously look at the components and some of the aspects of how to play the game. It won't be everything, but give you a pretty decent idea, and then we'll talk about what I think about it and if it lived up to its promise. Every player is going to have a different ship mat that they're going to have. When we start the game, we're going to have 3,000 money in order to spend, and we could do things like put engines on there. But that's a level 1 engine, so if I want to activate my engine, I take one of my activation tokens, put it on my engine, and roll a d6. It's pretty, once you understand it, pretty self-explanatory as to how the different things work. Or I could get a level 2 engine. I'd have to fit it into my ship, where I'd roll a d8, or even a level 3 engine. So this one might be a little bit trickier to fit in, but I roll a d12 every time I activate it. It still has 3 activation spots, but I have the potential to move further, so I could activate my engine 3 times on a turn. But there are lots of other things you can buy. You can buy lasers that allow you to attack when you're next to people, and there are levels of that. You can buy missiles that allow you to shoot at people with different levels of that. And then you can also buy shields that work the same way, but you put a token on it and you roll the corresponding die to prevent damage from happening. Now, as you're flying around, you also are going to want to save space on your ship so that you can have cargo. During your turn, you might also take damage that are these really cool things, and even though they're really pretty, you don't really want them on your ship. And you decide where they go, and they might potentially weaken how strong a certain component is. They might block a activation space on a component. They might just hit empty hull, or they might cause you to lose your cargo if they hit a space like that. If your ship fills up entirely with damage, that's how you are destroyed. And there are some other ways that can happen, like running into a sun. Well, at the end of the turn, let's say I've activated my engine 3 times, I would bring these tokens back, and then they're now disarmed, but I can spend energy in order to rearm them. So I can spend 3 at the end of my turn to rearm them. All this you can do for free when you get back to the planet, but basically that'll allow me to be ready to take actions next turn, or if I had shields, potentially defend from an enemy. There are really nice metal coins, and 1s and 5s. Money is pretty tight in the game. It's a definitely very valuable commodity. Eventually, you might want to buy more components, might want to sell your components back, get more, or buy bigger ships. What's cool though is each one of these ships has a special ability. And when you go from a level 1 to a level 2 ship, you keep all the stuff you had on your ship, and you also keep its ability. So the abilities are on cards, so you can keep it next to your level 2 ship, and eventually you can get to a level 3 ship. You'll have 3 different abilities. The level 3 abilities, some of them are cool in particular. Notice each ship also has an impulse value. There's a little token you flip. You can use that once per round to also give you a guaranteed movement of that certain amount. Now as you take your turns in Xia, you're going to be rolling for your movement, moving around to different spaces. And these spaces have lots of different information on it, but they're all pretty simple. Anywhere with this question mark, you're going to put an exploration token out. If you cross over it, it could be nothing, could be money, it could be fame points, and fame is how you win. There are spaces where you can potentially harvest, where you roll a die and you either take energy damage, or blow up, or take regular damage, and or potentially get cubes. There are a lot of different borders as you cross. You roll dice for different things. There are planets that you can fly through the gate here, or you can try to fly through their shield and potentially bounce off and take damage. There are places to buy and sell stuff. There are places to get missions. You might get lawful missions. You might get missions where you're are not so lawful. You want to blow somebody up, steal from them. Usually those have a higher risk but potential reward as well, and also very likely might give you a bounty for doing them. There are 3 types of planets. There are lawful planets like this that you can't fly through the gate, if you have a bounty on you. There are neutral planets that anyone will accept, and then there are the outlaw planets that if you cross over, you'll get a bounty just for associating with outlaws. There are gates that allow you to jump around. There are 2 gates that connect to each other, and this gate will send you to a random spot. There are asteroids that potentially do damage, and this is an asteroid, but there is kind of an outlaw hideout on it. And, whenever you're on the edge of a board, you can stop your movement and scan the next sector, or you can just keep going with your movement, fly through, but then again you might fly into Zaya the Sun and just blow up. As you're flying through the system, everyone's going to keep track of their fame points. You could get it from having at least 2 cargo and selling that in order to get fame for being a famous trader. You can get it for exploring and getting exploration tokens that have fame points. You can get it for blowing up other ships. You can get it for buying higher level ships. There are lots of different ways to get it. You can even get them for just rolling a natural 20 on a die roll. It's just for being lucky. And as you get fame points, eventually we'll come across these purple spaces where we reveal a title card. And these title cards have all different kinds of effects. And they might say, be the first player to blow up a ship with a higher level. They might say, be the first player to successfully, mine, harvest, and salvage in 1 turn. There's a lot of different things. They'll give you fame points and also then a special ability. You get fame points for completing missions. So most missions, they could have, good or bad. So they might be these blue missions, or they might be these red missions that are, nefarious, if you will. And a lot of them work very similar, though. You want to get to a certain spot, and then you might need to roll, you might not, depending on the situation. Then you reveal the mission when you've activated it, and then you have to get to a different spot, either to deliver passengers or whatever it may be. But then there might be missions where, like I said, you have to blow someone up, you have to steal from someone, so there are some missions that work a little bit differently. But that's another way to get points. You choose how long you want to play. You put a marker on there, and then the first player to get there wins, so it's kind of a race to get to that point. A really good insert. You can see there are lots of places to, put your money, put everything, put all your ships, put all of that. There are different ways. I've seen people that they have it set up. This is the way I have it. But overall, the cubes are awesome. The wood bits to keep track of stuff going on your ship are awesome. The dice are nice. These are nice thick cardboard tiles and stuff to build your ship with. The money is amazing. It's super awesome. And then there are 21 different ship miniatures. 3 of them are going to be NPCs. They're going to be flying around the map. One of them is going after lawful players. One's going to be going after players that have a bounty on them. And one is a merchant that's going to be flying around collecting money, but you can blow up that merchant if you want in order to collect their money. So there's one more aspect to the game. The fact that there's 21 painted miniatures is awesome. And some of them have, pretty decent looking paint jobs. But quite a few of them have this, and let me see if I can get to focus a little bit better here, this just really kind of dirty look to them. So this one in particular is kind of bad. Here's the deal. I was a little bit disappointed because the miniatures obviously aren't as cool as maybe they looked initially on the Kickstarter. However, there are 21 of them, and they're better than I can do. I'm not a painter. If somebody wanted to touch them up or whatever, they could. So even though that's one of my potential disappointments in the components, overall, it's a beautiful inlay. You can take this out and put all this different stuff you might be using in the game, set the box aside, and use this to get cubes and stuff out of. And overall, I'm very satisfied with that. But am I satisfied with the game? So, was Zaya worth the hype? The game that I maybe anticipated more than any other game I've ever played. I'm going to be careful about this. One thing that I pride myself on in this channel is not just trying to throw my opinions out there, not saying this game's stupid because I don't like this theme. And this is a game that I could, overrate because I was so looking forward to it and I've paid money for it. It could be a game that I underrate because, if I'm disappointed with it and I was so excited, so I'm going to try to be as objective as possible. So there are things that you may or may not like about this game. And first I'm going to talk about some potential negatives. Number 1, it is a dice fest. I mean, you are rolling dice every time you cross a border, every time you do this, every time you do... there's just so much dice. And you might, on your turn, go to activate to move, roll a 1. Activate to move again, roll a 1. Use the ship special ability to re-roll that roll. Roll a 1. You might go into combat and roll 1. You might just blow up. There are a lot of dice, and you have to accept that. While this is a strategic game, I'm not saying it's without strategy. There's a lot of randomness, and there's a lot of randomness in the missions. You might get a mission early that you can complete really easily and just got to go from here to here, and all of a sudden I rolled well and I get 5,000, while somebody else it takes them forever to get their other, one of the ends of their mission even out on the map. But, and that's something to be tricky. I played it once, house ruling, where you can just get rid of missions, but that's not great, because then people are spamming the mission slots trying to get a simple mission. So I don't know, maybe you could make it so you have to, if you want a new mission, you have to get rid of the one you have before you look at the new ones. I don't know. But, so that was kind of tricky. One thing that I overall just don't like, here's the thing, it being a Dice Fest, some people might love that, some people might not. One of the things though, when you die, you just kind of respawn, you lose your cargo, you lose your bounty, you lose any active missions, but there really isn't that big of a deal on a level 1 ship. In a level 2 or 3 ship, you lose a turn. And in general, and this is my own personal opinion, but I think a lot of people agree with me, in general, any game with a lose a turn mechanism, I just hate that. Especially in a game where the turns can take a long time, especially when people got bigger ships and doing a lot of activations and rolling to mine and doing this and doing that. If you're playing a 5-player game, by the time basically 2 turns come around, I mean, it might be half an hour you're doing nothing. So, really don't like that. So there are some definite things that are iffy. Also, this game can be long. If you want, I haven't played a 20-point game yet. I've played a couple. 10. I mean, the thing is, if you're playing like a short game or a medium, like a 10 or something, it's kind of hard to really feel like you get going. You might get to level 3 ship, but we haven't had a lot of combat because it's hard to have enough room to get enough stuff to do enough damage on a turn in order to blow other ships up. Maybe if we really focus on that, we could. But it seemed more viable to fly around and trade goods and to get exploration tokens and do other stuff. And I played 2 different 10-point games. One went like an hour and a half, 2 hours. One went like 2.5 hours. One was a 4, one was a 5-player game, but the time can be pretty lengthy too, so that's a potential negative. So I'm saying a lot of potential negatives, but other than that lose a turn thing, most of those are potential negatives, because they might be things you like. If you go into it knowing it's a Dice Fest, knowing that there's a lot of randomness and luck, somebody might find 3 Fame Point tokens and roll 3 D20s during their turn, and there's 6 of their, if you're playing with 10 points right there. So you have to accept that going in. Also, there can be a decent amount of time in between turns. Now, there are some things that maybe a ship with special ability does stuff in between turns. Somebody might attack you. I mean, you're interested in what's going on, but that's something else to bear in mind. However, if you know all of that and are okay with it being a Dice Fest and a little random, maybe a little long in between turns, and you're either okay with the lose a turn or you want to find a way to house rule that, wow. Despite all of the things that as we're playing this, I'm like, well, I don't really like this, I'm not sure if I like this. Every time I've played it, everyone I played with has had fun. It is a sandbox game. You can do what you want. You can try to be risky and fly through shields. You can try to mine. A game we just had last night, one of those title cards came out, and you had to successfully salvage 7 times in a turn. So that's one where if you roll 1 to 3, you blow up. If you roll above, you get the cube. And I had gotten the 6, and it would have won me the game, and I blew up. And then I managed to come back later, got to like 5, did it again, but my ship's special ability let me re-roll, and I managed to win. I mean, it was exciting, and even I think you could potentially have somebody who's kind of in the back, and maybe it's a little boring for them, but if you know all that, if you know you might be behind, if you know that there's going to be randomness, it might take a little while, what this game provides is just a sandbox of fun where you really can do whatever you want. And overall, not only did Cody, the designer, do a great job of keeping everyone up to date as to what was going on and informed with decisions, but this is a game that if you have a problem with those things, you may not like it. But if you can accept that going in, this is one of the games we've had the most fun with so far this year, despite all of its potential issues, because do stuff and see what happens, be a pirate, be whatever, and this game really did deliver on that main promise, and that was the most important thing as to whether or not I thought this game was going to be worthwhile. Oh, and metal coins are cool too. Alright, well thanks a lot for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Alright, bye!